Okay, so when you're dealing with fractions, we've already done common denominators. Add, subtract, pretty easy so far, right? Now we're going to deal with when they have a different denominator. What is the first thing you have to do if they have a different denominator? Do you guys remember? You check to see if it's different, but then we have to change it. Before we can add or subtract, we have to make sure they have a common denominator. So with these, you're going to do some changing with your fractions first, and then you're going to add them together. Okay? So let's jump in and look at a couple examples. Write these on your journals. So we have 3/8 plus 1/4. Now you guys are just going to assume all of these are unlike denominators since that's what we're practicing. There we go. So the cool thing about when you're doing most of these, a lot of times, one of the denominators can be turned into the other one. So you usually only have to manipulate one fraction, okay? Later on, when it gets a little harder, then you have to manipulate both. But right here at the beginning, usually you only have to fix one. So can we make the denominator 4 into an 8 by doing what?
Multiplying by 2 and by 2.
So then if we do that, let's rewrite. So we say 3/8 plus 4 times 2 is 8. So then whatever we did to the bottom of the fraction, we have to do the exact same to the top. So we did times 2 to get 8 on the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. So times 1 times 2 on the top, which is 2. So now these have a common denominator. So we say the denominator doesn't change when you add or subtract. We just have to say 3 plus 2, which is 5. Write all that down. All right, so let's do another for practice. If I have 8/9 plus 1/3, denominators are different, so we have to make them the same. What is a common denominator between 9 and 3?
3.
9 cannot become a 3. 3 can change into the 9, so that means the common denominator between these two is 9. So this is the one that's the smallest that both of them can be. Does that make sense? Because I feel like we're still struggling on this. What times 3 would give me 9?
3.
So we got to multiply this whole fraction times 3.
So that's not what you're asking. That's why I said 3.
No, I want to know what new denominator we can get. So this one doesn't change, 8/9 plus the new denominator on this side is 9. What's the numerator?
3.
Will be a 3 because you do 3 times 1. So now we can add. Denominator stays the same. What's 8 plus 3?
11.
Now, is that a proper fraction?
No.
No, this is an improper fraction. A lot of times you want to reduce this into a mixed number. How many times can 9 go into 11? Once. So that's your coefficient. 11 minus 9 would be?
2.
So then that's your remainder, 2/9. Any questions? All right, so now let's look at a fraction where one denominator can't, you're going to have to manipulate both fractions to get a common denominator. So if I have 5/6 plus 3/4, we need to find a common denominator. So what is a number that is on the multiple list of both 6s and 4s? 12 is one. Yep. 12 is the best one. So the new denominator would be 12 for both of these, right? What times 6 gave me 12? 2. What times 4 gave me 12? Okay, and if it helps you to write these little multiplications, please do. Right now, put it in your notes. So this whole equation I have to multiply times 2. So 5 times 2 is what? So that's my new numerator. Okay, this whole equation I have to multiply times 3, or fraction, sorry. So what's 3 times 3? 9. So now I have my new fractions with the common denominator. So I move my denominator over, because this is addition. What is 10 plus 9? 19. Okay, now this is improper, so let's make it into mixed. How many times can 12 go into 19? One time. So then I subtract 12 from the 19. What's my remainder? 7. Good. So do you understand how we found these common denominators here? The 12s? You went on the multiple line. Now, if some of you can't do that in your head, you just write it out. So like 6, 12, 18, 24. So then I do the 4s. 4, 8, 12. That's how we found out that 12 is on both of these. Okay? That's how you find the common denominator. You're going on the multiple line until you see what's on both of them. Good? All right, let's do when you see a mixed. So if I have 2 1/2 plus 3 over 10. Now we're going to have to do several steps here. Okay? Well, not necessarily. So what would be first of all, are these common denominators? No, but the whole lesson's not, so that's okay. So what number can be common between 2 and 10? 10. Okay, how am I saying this wrong? Because 2 of you are still... Okay.
No, I just put out the wrong number.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure you understand it. I don't want anybody to be stuck when you go do your homework. So 10 is common between both of those because 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? And then 10 is the first one. So that's how I found the common denominator. So I just need to change this first one to over 10. Well, what times 2 gives me 10? 5. So then 5 times 1 is on top. And then I do not have to change the second fraction because it already has 10 as the denominator. Okay, so now we need to add these. So my coefficients first, 2 plus what? Nothing. So 2. And then my denominator stays the same. What's 5 plus 3? 2 and 8 over 10. Now can I reduce that? Yes. So I get 2. What, when you're reducing 8 over 10, what can you divide both of those by? 2. 2. 8 divided by 2 would be?
4.
And 10 divided by 2 would be? 5. All right, any questions on how we did any of that? Should we do one more mixed? Let's do mixed. If I have 1 2/3 plus 1 2/5. All right, so need a common denominator between 3 and 5. What is a multiple of 3 and 5? That's how I need to say it. 15 is correct. Anybody else have a better one? 15 is great. Okay, so 1 and something over 15. What times 3 gives me 15? So I got to do times 5 this whole side. So 5 times 2 is?
5 times 2 is 10.
Very good. So what times 5 gave me 15? 3. So then 3 times 2 is? 6. So now I can add these. So coefficients first. 1 plus 1 is?
2.
I know my denominator is 15. What's 10 plus 6?
16.
All right, now you notice, what do we notice about this?
It's too big.
This is larger than my denominator. So when that happens, I subtract the denominator from it to get my remainder, and then I add 1 whole to the 2. So that becomes 3. What is 16 minus 15?
1.
So that's my remainder over 15. So then this is my final answer. Good. Okay, any questions on this? All right, as you do your worksheet, I want you to have a separate piece of paper that you do all your work on, and that way you just put your answer over here, your final answer, because that'll make it fast for me to grade. And then if you miss it, I'll go look at your work and see what happened so I can give you points for that, okay?